Hello folks, I am using the two telescopes that are right behind me. Actually, I'm only going to be using the one on the bottom. We're going to be taking a time lapse of our sun using the Quark Chromosphere from Daystar. The refractor is an Astro Tech 65 quad. It's an EDQ. So stay tuned and we'll be exploring what we're seeing on the sun this afternoon. Set up the time lapse, start taking time lapse pictures, process a couple in Autostakkert and ImPPG. Then later in another video I'll do another processing video where I take the finished stack of images and how I take them in batch from Autostakkert into ImPPG into PixInsight or Photoshop. We'll be using PixInsight, then back into ImPPG, and then into PIPP software, where then we will later create the GIF time lapse, and hopefully we'll have something worth looking at. Now there is some activity on the surface of the sun. There's some solar flares, and there's some modest activity on the surface that's going to be in my field of view. So let's go take a look at it, and I'll meet you there. So welcome to the Night Sky Imaging channel. We'll be doing some daytime imaging. Okay, well, we were supposed to be on the sun, and we are. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to close out some windows. And I'm also dealing with a cold. I get them every time this year, sinus infection. I couldn't talk yesterday. I spared you a video. Alright, now we're going to go to screen share, and here we are. I'm going to remove get rid of the reticle. Don't want anything. I'm using SharpCap, and I have two cameras attached, a refractor, the 65 EDQ Astro Tech refractor. It's a quad. It's real good for this. And I have a 174 Cool monochrome camera. It has a pretty fast frame rate. I'm at 97 frames per second, and that's good enough for government work. I also have a Daystar Scout riding on top of this kit, and I won't be using that, but I can switch back and forth. I can't run them both at the same time on separate SharpCap programs, but I can flip back and forth. But I'm going to be doing a time lapse, so I will not be doing any flipping. Let's take a stroll around the sun though, and kind of show you what I'm looking at. One of the cool things that you can do with the Quark Chromosphere is that you can take these surface features and at the same time expose the solar flares that are on the surface, on the rim of the sun. I'm going to raise the exposure a good bit, and there they are. And although you can't see any movement, that's why I do a time lapse. Over a period of 3 or 4 hours of doing this time lapse, I'll be able to see the movement in these solar flares, and hopefully I'll be able to, I'm going to go down to 12, milliseconds, and hopefully we'll be able to see some brightness, possibly some swirling, but changes in the luminosity, as these are pretty hot regions, and there's two small sunspots there. This is not a sunspot. This is on the sensor itself. If you see something really dark and defined in your imaging optical train, that's something on the sensor. The closer it is to the sensor, the more defined and you see the structure in it. Now, this thing right here and this thing, these are probably on the Quark Chromosphere, and because that's the only, oh, there's an IR cut filter, and it could be on that as well. And I have a lot of them, and because of that, right before we start taking this time lapse, I'm going to take a couple flat frames so that when I start processing these, I can flat out this dust by subtracting it from the image. So we'll expose for these flat frames by defocusing, and then we'll have them later to use, and I'll show you that. But for right now, let's take a kind of a run around the sun and see what else is happening. In fact, what I'm going to do real quickly here, I'm going to change to my web browser, and I want to go, here we go. This is a view of the sun from 3 minutes ago, and I'm going to click on it, and this happens to be the patch of solar flares that we were looking at, and this is the area where there's going to be some luminosity changes. You can kind of see if you click on this play button here and go up and play it. This will show you the last 24 hours, and you can. This is, of course, you have nighttime too, where this was taking place. So it jumps from the last image of yesterday to the first image and currently to 3 minutes ago. But so you can see there are some movements down here, and that's what I want to image. There's also some right close to this patch. So let's get back to that, and let's take a run around the sun real quickly. Let's see, we want to go east and north, and you can see this part right here is not moving, so we know that's dust. So we want to go east, and while we're here, let's raise the exposure. Let's just run the gain up to about 300. Not a lot going on there. Let's go back to 90, and let's go back to east, and not a whole lot going on there. And let's raise exposure up. Okay, we do have some flare activity up here, but that's it. We don't have anything worth imaging on the surface, except there's an area here that might materialize over 3 hours. But you never know, something could start developing in your image. Okay, we want to go east a little more, and now we're going to go west, south, and east. Come on, east, south. Need to bring my exposure back down to 12. gain down to 90. 900. There we go. We'll do some focus work too as well. Now here are two sunspots here. Let's we need to go east again. Let's see if there's anything on the well, this has some possibilities, so I'm not sure what I'm going to image. We've got this up here working, and we've got this working, and also we have these two sunspots that might pan out over 3 hours, and what you'll see movement wise around sunspots is just kind of some plasma moving in and out of the area, but now I got to decide what target I'm going to be using or shooting. We're still too hot. Let's lower the gain. And not. And okay, we're getting down to where we started this, I think. Nope. We're going to go back over here. Yeah, this is where and now we want to go east. That'll be pretty good. We want to leave some dark in the image. You'll see why when we start processing a few of these. Okay. All right, I think that's just where we're going to spend some time trying to bring this out, and let's head back down to let's go down to 10 seconds, and let's go up here to 90. Okay, we're going to use 10 and 90. That'll be easy to remember, and we have pretty good looking as far as luminosity levels. We have a pretty good looking sun. So what I want to do now is take a flat frame. So I'm going to move the sun to where I kind of fill up the my field of view right there. So you don't have to do this, but that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to go down to my focuser, and I'm going to rack it in 1,000 steps. So we're going from 90 something to 80 something, and I've defocused this, and I'm going to give this a target name, flat. Also, when you start up, make sure you click on File. File. Come on, work with me. I'm controlling this remotely from inside my house, so Wi-Fi is delayed some at times. Go to File Names, and I have an external hard drive. It's a 1 terabyte little tiny handheld drive that's velcroed onto my laptop outside, and so these will be this will be the directory where these images are stored. Also, I have running a Moonlight focuser. I don't have a filter wheel, and I have a Celestron AVX mount, so that when I connect the camera, which automatically populates when you connect them to your software, your laptop, and when you connect your camera, it automatically activates and gives you the controls over your camera here. And I also have a ASCOM hand controller I can move around here. I usually keep this at 4 times sidereal for smaller adjustments, and this at 16 times sidereal for faster. So let's knock off, let's do a quick capture of about 500 frames. And at 100 frames a second, we're done. Let's do another. Let's do 3 or 4. And one more. Okay, I'm going to change this to a new directory, and I'm just going to call this Time Lapse. Yeah. Time Lapse underscore surface and flare. And so a directory will be created where this where these time lapse images will be stored. So now I want to bring my focus back, so I'm going to come out 1,000 steps, and I have my flat frames. And we're not in focus. Let's do this again. Let's go back in. And let's come out some, 10 steps at a time. Well, we may needed to go in some. Either way, we lost focus. We're getting there. Okay. Let's come back. Okay, let's move over to let's move over and set up this session. So there, and okay, let's go back just a little bit. Let's stop about right there, and let's go down here and see where I'm moving some windows around you don't see. Let's run our gain up to, okay. All right, let's see what that does to our surface. Okay, that puts it down. I was at 10 and 90. and 10. Okay, let's bring it up just a little, and a little north, nope, a little south. I have to come back east now. It's like controlling a battleship. These AVX mounts have so much backlash. Okay, let's see what we got there. Is our flare? Yeah, that's good. Alright, so what we want to do is, I'm going to scroll down here. Let me close out scope control, and I want to see my histogram. So I want to have about 90% of my histogram illuminated. So I'm going to move my gain up to about 100, and that moves it over some, 110. Okay, we're getting close. I'm going to go back to 105. I don't want to blow out this part of the sun, which is what I'm keeping my eye on right now. Let's go back to 102. Alright, I'm going to keep it at there. So throughout the time lapse, this AVX mount, which is not polar lined, it is aimed in the general direction of the celestial North Pole, but it isn't polar line. It gets bumped around. It's on a tripod. My other two kits outside are on piers, but this is on a tripod. It's kind of my grab and go scope, that along with my Ioptron ZEQ25, and so we're going to have some drift in deck and in RA, which is part of having a low-end budget mount like an AVX. I love the mount, but it is what it is. It's not it's machined for the budget consumer, and that's me. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to have to babysit this throughout this session, and I'm going to have to adjust the sun some as it moves as it moves. So what I want to do is set up some reticles, and I'm going to go here and do a single crosshair, and I need a reference point, so I'm going to drag this and put this down on this. I'm going to set it on that sunspot, and when it drifts off of that, then I'll nudge it back. Now let's set up the time lapse. I'm going to go to capture, start capture, and I want to take 700 frames at a time. I would take more, but the scene's pretty decent today, and hopefully I'll be able to keep more of the frames. I want the sequence. That's how many images do I want. I want to take 300 of them for my time lapse. I'll probably have to get rid of 30 of them. So if I can end up with 275, that's a pretty decent length. And I'm going to have a pause of 15 seconds between each image. I'm actually going to change that to 20. And I have plenty of time this afternoon to get these in. But this is what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to kind of put that on hold for a minute, because I'm going to nudge the sun back down here inside these crosshairs, and in order to do that I need to go south. Nope, I got to get the hang of this. North. So far it looks like it's my deck that's really way off. And so let's bring up capture, start capture, and let's go back to 300 frames and 20, and let's start it. So down here you're going to see capturing, we've already taken the first 700. Now we're counting down up here in the green. We have 299 to go. And I want to break up my scope controls because I'm going to start, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 4 times sidereal. Alright, we just took our second. We have 298 to go. And while that's taking some, let's go into Autostakkert. And let's open the first one. We're on the 1st of March. And this first thing you do, let's open one of these flat frames, and let me create. So this is the flat frame, and what you do is you go to image calibration, and you're going to put create master frame, and I'm going to call this, well, let me get back to the right imaging run, and we'll just put this in the root folder. We'll call this master. Okay, and so it's doing that now. I loaded it, I'm creating it, and it will be saved. Alright, now let's open up one of our exposures, and we don't want the flat. We want to go to Time Lapse Surface Flare. We'll just take the first one, and we'll open this up. And here we are. Let's move the box to here where we have some structure, and normally I'll run through this and see if I have something that's a little scrub, a little sharper, and but I'm just going to go ahead and analyze. And while we're doing that, let's head back to, okay, we're going to need to move back over north a little bit. It doesn't have to be precise, but I wanted to move back to the center. And let's bring up Autostakkert while it's doing its thing. This is a very, very slow laptop. By the way, the settings that I last used are the same settings that will come up. So I'm checking on surface, improved tracking's always checked, and then of course I do auto size. I don't use double stack, reference, and analyze. Well, this is telling me that this green line crosses the midpoint line about right here, which is, if this is 25%, 50%, 75%, that it crosses at about the 25% line, maybe 30% line. And that's telling me that half of the frames in this video are better than 50%, or the below the line, they're 50% worse. So the ones above are better, and the ones above this line right here are the best. But it just helps me decide what percentage of the 700 frames I'm going to keep. And so I'm going to create two directories, one for 30% and one for 20%. And I'm not sure which one I'll ultimately use for the time lapse, but we'll find out. So the next thing I need to do is set some align points, and I'm going to use 104, and I'm going to just click on place a grid. And with that being said, I have save in folders. I don't want to drizzle. I'm not sharpening, so let's stack this. That's going to take me a minute, so let's go back to our, and we've drifted again, so let's go back. We're going to have to go east some, and now north, to get back in there in the groove. We have 286 remaining. 3 seconds until they start the next one. And now we're capturing at 95 frames per second. We have already taken that one. And so we're going to go back to Autostakkert. Yeah, it took 1 minute and 10 seconds to run the surface stabilization and buffer. So I will not use this laptop to process the time lapses. I have another laptop inside that has a lot of horsepower. But I have 3 laptops that are kind of budget laptops. They're Lenovo's. They're the smallest laptop I could find. But they do have a terabyte of hard drive each and 16 gig of RAM. And one's called Planetary, one's called Astro 2, and one's called Astro 1. And they're used for designated the laptop for designated kits that I have outside. Okay, this goes fast here, so we're about done. I shouldn't have said it goes fast. Still doing map analysis. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to close this out. We're just going to work on one of them. And now I'm going to have to recenter before we do anything else. And I want to go... I'm going to have to go west a little bit, and get back there, and it's capturing right now. Let it finish. Now I'll move it back. It doesn't want to move. Backlash. That went the other way. That's okay. It's good enough right now, but I like to get it centered. I'll wait till this finishes. Okay, now I'm going to bring up ImPPG software, and well, where'd it go? There it is. And I'm going to find my image, or images, because we did it twice, if you remember. So open, and planetary, and we want to open up our let's open up our 30% in image first. Oh heck, I forgot to run the flat. Well, let's do that. We got time. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go back and bring up Autostakkert. We're going to open up another image. We'll open up the same video. Okay, you see all those dust stuff that is crud that's on my sensor and right there. Alright, we're going to go to image calibration. Now I'm going to load my master flat, and there it is. So I'm going to load it, and they go away. So I was able to get rid of them with that flat. Now I'm going to analyze, and while it's going to take a minute and 10 seconds, we found that out. While that's doing that, I'm going to babysit this mount. What you're going to see in a few minutes, once we get through Autostakkert, excuse me, and bring up ImPPG, is we're going to be able to bring out the solar flares as well as the detail on the sun. I like registacks, but not for the sun. Registacks is a great, in fact, here it is down here for planetary, but I don't like it for the sun. We're at 273 remaining, so we have done 28 videos, 700 frames long. Let's go back to Autostakkert. We got about 30 seconds, I guess. Well, we're done. I can already tell you that I'm going to be fine with 30%. I could just tell from seeing that data. So I'm going to go ahead and place the same grid, and I'm going to go ahead and stack all those video independent files, those individual files in that video, into one TIFF file. And I was trying to think, it took well, we did it twice because we did it for 30% and we did it for 20%. But it's going to take it another probably 30-40 seconds. So let's head back and see if we need to babysit. We're going to have to do a little north movement. We're capturing now, so I kind of hate to try to move the mount when it's capturing, but Autostakkert still does a good job. Okay, let's head back to Autostakkert. and we'll stay here until this finishes. Alright, we can close this. And now we're going to run down here and bring up ImPPG, and we're going to load the second image in the box, which is this one. Nope, still has the this is the other first one we did. Let's go back and open this one then. And so this has the application of the flat frame. So what I want to first do is I want to bring out the flare, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this curve and I'm going to bring it up here to this corner. I'm going to grab it right here and I'm going to start bringing it down to about there, and I'm going to go up to edit and select and process all because it's just doing a section. Okay, now let's go up here, give you a little working room. Where'd my curves go? I'll have to close this down and start all over again. Alright, well, let's just shut it down and open it back up. And looks like our target's still okay. And let's go back to our file, open. And let's we want to select it, select and process all. Let's click on our curve. Well, that's, how did my curve go crazy? How could I lose it? I don't want pip. This is where I do my time lapse in. Alright, let's see if we can find it. It's in here somewhere. Now that's a puzzle. I should have turned on the, in case somebody was watching and knows, try to reset everything. Let's see if there's a reset. Well, that's nuts. I think it's one of those things where I may have to, because I don't know how to get around it, go ahead and just uninstall it and reinstall it. Well, you sort of got the idea that if you let me bring this up again. If you open your image and we'll do this again. Okay, let's just focus right now on let's do everything. Select and process all, because I can't use the curves to, I can't find it. It's disappeared. May take a reboot, which I don't want to do because I'm doing a time lapse. But if you'll raise the sigma up and watch your surface, it's going to start getting sharp. It's like wavelets. Then we're going to come down here to unsharp mask and start raising this up. In curves, when I do that inversion, it will also sharpen up my solar flares. So this is about the extent that I will apply sharpening in ImPPG, but I do reverse I know what I could do while I'm running the time lapse is just uninstall and reinstall this. I don't know. Anyway, I had plans to show you how to do that, but I need to move over south a little bit. South and west is what's going to need it. We're previewing now, so let's go. Oh, heck. We're at 253. Let's this thing's so slow, I just stopped the time lapse and get it centered again. Now west. Now north. Now south. A little bit too far. This is what you call babysitting. Now east. Alright, we're there. So we're going to go back to capture, start capture, but instead of 300, I'm going to put in 253 because that's how many's left. And we start it again. And I'm going to open up my, let's go to downloads and see if ImPPG, hey, there it is. Okay, when in doubt, ImPPG download. This is, let's see, this is where we go. And we want to download version right here. And we want for Windows 64. We're going to open the file. And ImPPG. Going to have to extract. We're going to extract. Let's call this. That's fine. It's going to be extracted to that folder. And let's open up the folder. And let's go find the here it is. So we're going to open up a new version. If the curves is hidden here, I don't know what to do. And it is. That beats all. Let's go back and open up this. I guess I should have deleted the other. Well, I'm not going to fool with it anymore. If I can't get it to come up, remember that, Ed. Reset the tone curve position window. Okay, well, we will play around with this then. Let's go back up and edit, select, and process all. Let's make this a window we can see. Let's first use our, let's make this a little smaller so I get some real estate to room. We're going to drag this up here, and then we're going to grab it about right there and bring it down. Oh, we're going to move this around a good bit. Let's bring this up some. Okay, watch me lose this again. Let's go up. Let's go up and over. I want to be able to see this and this. Now we're going to increase the sharpening. It takes it a second to apply it to the whole thing, and let's do some more. Let's raise up the unsharp mask to about 1.5, and let's go to about 1.4. Alright, I'm pretty now there will be some more sharpening done in PixInsight. Also in PixInsight I will do batch sharpening, batch cropping, and batch converting from mono to RGB, and then I'll save that, and then in this software we'll use this software to align all the images. But since this is going to be my template, I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to save these process settings. It saves this curve and all of the sharpening settings. I want to go to the root where I have my process file save now. So when I want to run, after I batch process everything in Autostakkert, I'm going to bring them into this by batch processing, I'm going to add all the files. Then I'm going to browse for my process settings, and then I'll find a directory to save them to, a new directory, and I'll process, and it will batch process all of them, sharpening to this extent and running the same curves. So the only other thing that I might have to do in PixInsight is run a linear fit, because throughout the course of the day, although the gain and the exposure stay the same, the light outside changes, and so to keep flickering from happening, and I'll see if there's a lot of it. It's a more tedious process to run the linear fit, but it will make all of the exposures of the same exact luminosity, and it keeps them from flickering back and forth. Now, I will look and first see if I have it, if this is worth doing it for, before I take the time to do that. So if it turns out to be a decent amount of activity on the flare and also around here, and I think I have a winner, then I will take great time to get all of these exposures to be exact using the container and batch processing options in PixInsight. So we better get back to our I'm sure it's drifted out of the to no man's land. Sorry I put you through that, having to download more software, but dad burn. Okay, we're going to need to move north some. I'm going to go ahead and stop this at 234, and let's get recentered. Alright, we're going to go back and start capture, and now we're at 234. When I do that, we have 234 images left to take. So I'm going to bring this live session to an end, but it does give you an idea of how, at least I'm sure there's a lot better ways to do what I'm doing, but I know how to do it this way, and it works really well for planetary as well. And so with that along with WinJu posts, having a time lapse of Jupiter's red spot kind of moving across or moving around Jupiter is pretty cool. Okay, well folks, I'm going to call it a day. I don't know what political page you're on, but I hope right now that you close the political book and we all just go to our knees and pray for Ukraine and the wisdom of our leaders, whether you like them or not. We need their wisdom to make the right decisions for our friends in Europe. It is not a good situation. It could get worse, and I'm praying for better, and I trust and hope you guys will as well. Have a great day. God bless the Ukraine and their leadership, and hopefully all the families can get restored and back to their country to rebuild their homes. Wow. Talk to you later.